Welcome to all you critical thinkers, warriors for freedom and lovers of humanity. And a big welcome to all our interstate friends. I'd like to thank you, Tammy J, and your team of coordinators for putting on this event. And I'd like to thank everybody here in person and who is here in spirit who can't be, for standing up and being the resistance against the medical tyranny. My name is Dr. Duncan Syme. I'm a general practitioner and have been in practice for 34 years. And I was forced to resign my job, a job that I love, because of the mandates. I then had my registration suspended for writing medical exemptions for patients. AMPS is fighting for a return to basic medical ethics. We're fighting for everybody's right to bodily autonomy and not be punished for choosing that right. We're fighting for the sanctity of the doctor-patient relationship, informed consent, and a return to free speech within medicine so that science can be challenged and debated. We are also here fighting for the heart and soul of medicine, and by extension, fighting to regain the freedom of our society and democracy as we once knew it. I was going to come here today and remind everybody of Victoria's and Australia's greatest public health policy disaster, and the totalitarian takeover of Victoria implemented by Dan Andrews and government and his health bureaucrats of the last century years. However, a new danger has emerged. There's a new and terrifying legislation being put forward in the Queensland Parliament next week. And I feel I need to make people aware of this legislation, as there's yet another window into what could be a further descent into a dystopian nightmare for the nation. They are now trying to control us with the chilling proposed changes to the national law in Queensland. This legislation will compel doctors and all other healthcare professionals around the country to make their first priority maintaining confidence in the public health institutions, as opposed to caring for their individual patients. This legislation is aimed at completely silencing dissenting voices opposed to government and health bureaucrat policies and decisions. And as to do so, you will be risking massive fines and possible imprisonment. Many doctors and health professionals are already terrified at present of the regulator and have refused to speak up, despite strongly disagreeing with what the government has been doing over the last 2 3/4 years. However, it will be nigh impossible for doctors and other health professionals to speak out if this legislation goes through, as they will not only risk massive fines but jail terms, risk of losing their livelihood and personal freedom. This is going to have the governments who have lied and deceived us on nearly everything related to COVID and more. They've abused the people's trust, and this pandemic and its response was never about the public's health. This has always been about control. Their goal was to make the populace compliant, weeding out and separating independent critical thinkers from the institutions. Lest we forget what Dan Andrews' government has brought us. The longest lockdown in the world. Locking up families in high-rise flats for weeks. The separation of families from aged and ill relatives. The deliberate destruction of small businesses. The deliberate division of society. The division and breakdown of family structures, friendships and marriages. Staggering delays to surgery, treatment of cancers and other medical conditions. Skyrocketing incidence of mental health disorders in all age groups. Huge delays in ambulances arriving for life-threatening emergencies. Lest we forget. In Victoria, we've had the shooting and excessive violence towards peaceful demonstrators. The arresting of pregnant women in their homes, threatening and intimidation and arresting of political opposition leaders and alternate media personalities, and the quarantine debacle and subsequent cover-up. We've had the firing and forced resignations of tens of thousands of workers because they refused to have an experimental medical product not properly tested. And we've seen the destruction of our children's and young adults' education, mental and physical health, lest we forget. But noted, since the rollout, we have an increasing excess death rate around the world and in Australia. We have plummeting fertility rates across the globe. We have increasing heart attacks, strokes, myocarditis, cancers and autoimmune disorders, massive menstrual disturbances, alarming rises in miscarriage rates, increasing rates of dementia and neurodegenerative diseases, and staggering percentage of rise of death rates in young adults and children. And we've got the deliberate hiding and obfuscating of data from the public by governments, health agencies and mainstream media. Lest we forget. And we've got ATAGI, the denial of natural immunity, the TGA's blocking of safe and effective medications, thus potentially allowing thousands of citizens of this country to die and suffer more severe illness. We've had the complete and utter failure of our medical leadership in this country to stand up for medical ethics in the face of the greatest clinical experiment in the history of man. APRA and the medical boards and the medical regulators who have threatened, bullied and medical and health professionals to toe the government messaging and punished those who dared to stand up to them. And they told us we would get our freedom back. Lest we forget. Was all to stop a virus that roughly had the same fatality rate as a flu. The censorship of medical and health professionals has been profound, both by the regulatory bodies, medical journals, mainstream media and the main social media platforms. They do not want the truth to get out. This is why we are here, in order not to forget and to resist the forces of this medical tyranny. Do not be fooled by the current illusion that we have our freedom returned to us. All the dodgy legislation and the people who have done this still remain in place, and unless they are brought to justice, they or their disciples will do it again. Everyone here today and those who are with us in spirit have shown immense strength and courage, and that gives me courage to, and the rest of us, courage to carry on. The people who have orchestrated this are afraid of you. They are afraid of your moral courage and your integrity. We have not been broken despite everything that they have tried to do to us and take away from us. And we have become stronger as a result, even though we bear numerous scars. You are the fire of freedom they cannot put out. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "A small group of determined, like-minded people can change history, and this is what we are doing." Though the road is hard, we will prevail as truth, love, integrity and determination will win over darkness, lies and hate. I'd like to finally let everybody know that AMPS is starting a social media campaign on Facebook. It's called Stop Medical Censorship. Please, we're asking people to do a 30-second to 1-minute video voicing your deep concern and hashtagging your local member about this terrible new legislation and that is coming before the Queensland Parliament. Let them know on that video that you will be concerned if you go and see your doctor that they will not be working in your best interests as a patient, but working primarily as a government agent in future consultations if this legislation is passed. Thank you.